In the last video, we discussed how Ippo's rival Sendo got his revenge on Alfredo. Today, we will discuss what you've all been waiting for in the most requested Takamura vs Bison. Guys, it is time for those shouting in the comments that the title of the show should be Hajime no Takamura. If you have watched the anime, you would remember that the last person Takamura defeated was David Eagle to take the WBC middleweight title. After that fight, Takamura defended the belt 4 times and now he's trying to take the WBA belt. I was unable to make videos for those other fights just because they don't have that much action compared to this one. And by the way, this fight happened after the fight between Ippo and Alfredo. Kamogawa said that since Ippo had just finished the fight, he should join Takamura in training. Takamura said, "I don't need any help, but if you're going to follow me to train, just make sure you don't get in the way." Kamogawa then said that Takamura's next fight would be a championship unification match for the WBC and WBA middleweight titles. Wow, this fight is surely going to be so intense, guys. Takamura has truly reached another level since the start of Hajime no Ippo. After that, we found out from Yagi that Takamura wants to conquer 6 weight classes, and Kamogawa agreed that if he wins, Takamura will move up to a higher division. We then learned that Takamura and Ippo might be Kamogawa's last students. Ippo and Takamura started their training. During a break in the run, Takamura mentioned that Kamogawa was hurt by Ippo's attitude after losing his fight. Ippo had simply accepted the loss without making any excuses as to why he lost. It's like he was losing confidence in himself and had accepted that his opponent was just stronger. Takamura also said that for a warrior to fully recover, he needs to create reasons that will motivate him. So if you accept that your opponent is stronger, it's over. Ippo asked why Takamura seemed in a hurry to get all the belts. He responded that a boxer's time is extremely limited and also because of his final goal for the heavyweight title. That's why Takamura is so strong, guys. He's thirsty for victory and is never satisfied, which makes him the role model for the boxers in their gym. Ippo then realized why Kamogawa had him join them, to inspire him to dream bigger and be more determined. Takamura and Bison met at their press conference. Bison said he had hoped to fight David Eagle, but Takamura knocked him out, so he respects him and has trained hard for this. The stare down between the two world champions then began. The day of their fight arrived. In the waiting room, we see how relaxed Takamura is, even managing to take a nap. After Sendo and Mashiba's respective matches, the time everyone has been waiting for, Takamura vs Bison, is about to begin. In the waiting room, we saw how strong our protagonist's punches were while mid-training. The time has come. First to be introduced was the WBA World Middleweight Champion of the World, Richard Bison. As the spectators say, even without a costume, Bison looks really formidable. And next, our champ was introduced, the WBC middleweight champion Mamoru Takamura. As Takamura entered, we saw the battle of the beasts, a cow against a hawk. The so-called fight of the century has begun. The opponents leaped, and our hero seems to have problems with Bison's jabs. After contemplating, he got serious. And here we saw Takamura's smooth footwork. He quickly charged and both boxers began to throw punches. But here, we saw the skill of the two world champions. No clean connections were made here as both parried, countered, and dodged without error. Guys, these movements of the two world champions are just so smooth and everything seems calculated. After creating some distance, round 1 ended. As both boxers returned to their corners, Bison called our protagonist a thief. In Takamura's corner, his coach said he had 2 problems. First, Bison's flicker jabs, and second, Bison is good at dodging. In Bison's corner, he remembered his starts in boxing. He started to protect himself and he easily defeated all his opponents. But he was shocked when he first lost to David Eagle. And it happened again when he lost in the Olympic qualifiers. If you remember, guys, it was Takamura who defeated David Eagle. So it seems that Bison is seeking revenge and harbors resentments, calling Takamura a thief, because he took the chance to redeem himself and defeat David Eagle. Before round 2 began, Takamura asked what he should do. After Takamura got upset, Kamogawa answered, "Why don't you ask him?" The second round started and our protagonist quickly charged, but he was stopped when Bison rained a series of left jabs, and Takamura was pushed back when one of Bison's flicker jabs connected cleanly. Bison said he would pour all his resentments for Eagle on Takamura, and he continued to throw punches. Our protagonist was having trouble due to his speed and lack of openings to get closer. Bison landed a solid jab that sent Takamura flying. Yagi was concerned because of Bison's solid left. After that, our protagonist seemed to calm down and began to strategize. Because of this, Bison charged. Takamura remembered what Kamogawa said in the corner, and as Bison charged, Takamura copied his style. The audience was surprised because it was their first time seeing this style from Takamura. Bison thought, "Why is he doing this now? What's this guy planning?" Takamura told himself that he needed to do everything because his coach trusted him. Takamura started to rain flicker jabs, which Bison easily dodged. When Bison became complacent, he said he was used to these punches and would just block them effortlessly. But our protagonist stunned him and broke Bison's defense when he tried to block. Takamura said he had mastered the flicker jabs. Our idol is amazing, guys, and in just a short time, he mastered the technique he just tried. What a monster! He released another jab and Bison was surprised when he was reached by it after dodging. Because of our protagonist's punches, Bison created distance and also began to get serious. They seemed to be looking in the mirror at each other as their movements were identical. The two boxers slowly approached each other, and when they met, they both released intense flicker jabs. These two are awesome, but I'm more impressed by our protagonist Takamura. Whether it's in fighting or outboxing, he's just world class. Here, Ippo stated that the two are moving exactly the same. Dodge, punch, and dodge again, so the fight is just balanced. But in the waiting room, Mashiba mentioned that Takamura is gradually getting disadvantaged. This is supposedly because of the powerful flicker jabs that our protagonist is unleashing, and every time he releases one, it takes a while for it to come back. Here we've seen that Bison is gradually gaining the upper hand in the exchange of punches, and then he landed a powerful blow on Takamura, sending him flying into the ropes. Having been flung to the ropes, he asked his gymmates what everyone knows Mamoru Takamura can do. Aoki responded, "Be a dick!" Well, it's up to you guys to interpret that. He charged again, and once again he was thrown to the corner. He asked his gymmates again and Kimura replied, "To succeed!" Takamura charged again, closing the distance. Here we learn from Kamogawa why our protagonist is doing this. It's because he is strengthening his resolve. So we can say that he's in a precarious situation. Bison's punches are gradually connecting cleanly. Takamura wondered in his mind what makes Bison's flicker jabs different from his and why he's at a disadvantage. Because of this, he stopped punching and opened his hand. When our protagonist released the flicker jabs, they consecutively connected cleanly on Bison. Here, Mashiba said that the key to flicker jabs is to throw them casually. Takamura is really awesome, guys. He mastered the flicker jabs in less than 3 minutes. The exchange of flicker jabs continued without any of them gaining an upper hand, and the fight turns into a test of strength and endurance. Takamura connected solidly on Bison again. Because of this, Bison changed his stance and raised his defense. The onslaught of Takamura's flicker jabs continued, but Bison used a parry counter, and he landed a very solid right straight. Because of that punch, Takamura's legs lost their strength. As Bison was getting closer, our protagonist let out a flurry of random punches to keep him at bay, and that's where the second round ended. Damn, the fight is intense. So much has happened, and we're only still in round 2. This is so exciting, guys. Before round 3 started, Ippo shouted, "Do your best!" Takamura charged quickly, but suddenly stopped as he approached the center of the ring. Because of this, Bison connected with flicker jabs. Here we learn from Kamogawa that he lost consciousness while in the corner. and he only came back after Ippo shouted. He also said that our protagonist seems to be only acting to prevent his gymmates from worrying. The connection of Bison's punches continued until he cornered Takamura, and he unleashed a variety of punches on our cornered protagonist. Takamura then raised his defense. As Bison was about to throw a punch, he was greatly surprised when Takamura opened his defense and immediately said, "Do you know what a Mamoru Takamura can do?" Goosebumps. He said that he can do anything and connected with his own parry counter, which knocked Bison off his feet and brought him down. At the referee's count of 7, Bison got up. The fight continued, but his knees were still trembling due to the damage from Takamura's punch. But since he was standing, Takamura respected him and let him survive that round. And that's where the third round ended. In the corner, Bison was irritated because all his signature moves were cleanly copied by Takamura. The fourth round started, but Bison was afraid to use his flicker jabs because Takamura showed what he could do if he used it again. Here, Ippo realized that this was our protagonist's plan right from the beginning, to shut down Bison's signature moves. Takamura challenged him in the center of the ring and asked him to stop keeping distance. Because of this, Bison charged and the two met in the center of the ring. But even though they were very close to each other, no one was able to connect cleanly. Both of them were just deflecting and dodging the punches being thrown, and the breathtaking exchange of punches continued. The spectators were silenced because one mistake would surely result in someone falling. The exchange between the two world champions continued. Both are just so good, so only one chance is really needed to end the fight. Bison was impressed by the inhuman reflexes of our protagonist, but it seems like he has memorized Takamura's movements and predicted what he will do next. When Bison's prediction landed, he threw a punch, but Takamura retaliated and simultaneously connected with a solid punch. Takamura remained proud and strong, but he couldn't follow up because he was also hit by the punch he received. And he said that he will come back and after a minute, he will finish the fight. And that's where the fourth round ended. It's heating up, guys! The fight's getting more and more intense. In our protagonist's corner, he said he needs a massage on his right foot because he is gradually running out of strength. Kamogawa was impressed because despite of everything, the fighter remained high-headed and didn't complain. In Bison's corner, they realized how monstrous Takamura really was and they started to respect the protagonist. But when they remembered Takamura's goal of becoming champion in 6 weight classes, they realized that to achieve that, Takamura would have to beat other American boxers. So they declared that they needed to stop him as early as now. Before the fights began, the crowd started chanting Takamura's name. Round 5 began and Bison charged quickly. He threw punches which our protagonist easily dodged. Kamogawa stated that Takamura was looking for an opportunity to end the match with a single punch, and we learned that Takamura was conserving his remaining energy in his right leg. After Bison's barrage of punches, both landed a right straight counter, but Bison was able to dodge it so he didn't fall. Kamogawa then mentioned that the combination Takamura released came from his natural talent. Takamura charged, intending to end the match. While Bison was worrying, he remembered a punch he hadn't used in the match, and he released a big left swing that landed solidly on our protagonist's face. The punch was so strong that Takamura's mouthpiece flew off, but he stood firm and refused to be knocked down. Yet, it was evident that he was heavily shaken from the punch he received. Because of this, Bison charged quickly. Takamura dodged and they began to exchange punches in the middle of the ring. Bison's coach was confused as Takamura couldn't dodge simple punches, but he could now dodge complicated punches one after another. Bison connected with another big left swing. This made Bison confident to use his flicker jabs again, but Takamura quickly countered and landed solidly on Bison's face. When Bison was about to release another big left swing, the bell rang, and that's how round 5 ended. In the protagonist's corner, we learned from Kamogawa that the possible cause could be the pain he was feeling in his right leg. He was injured when he forced himself to stand up after the first big left swing, and because of that, he was rapidly losing consciousness. In Bison's corner, they noticed that Takamura's legs had lost their strength. Before the fight started, we saw that Takamura's right leg had completely lost its strength, and he started to walk unsteadily. The fight began and Bison quickly charged. Takamura quickly connected with a solid left straight, but Bison immediately retaliated with a powerful big left. Takamura landed a series of punches, but Bison didn't back down and continued to charge at Takamura until our protagonist was completely cornered and was bombarded with various punches. Bison landed a solid body blow, and when Bison threw a follow-up punch, it simultaneously connected with a right straight. Takamura was tough. He just doesn't back down. But Takamura was more battered in this punch exchange. When Bison released a big left, Takamura dodged it. Kamogawa then figured out that the secret as to why Bison's punch was connecting. Our protagonist was too focused on Bison's right. That's why he didn't see the incoming left hook. When Kamogawa was about to reveal the secrets of the punch, we saw that Takamura's ear was bleeding. So despite Kamogawa's shouts, he couldn't hear him, and Bison proceeded to throw various punches. Takamura seemed unable to do anything and continued to take solid punches in succession. Because of Takamura's demonstrated toughness, his entire camp began cheering all at once. When he looked around, he saw his coach, who was extremely worried. Because of this, Takamura was revitalized and launched a series of solid punches. But our protagonist remained at a disadvantage, and Bison connected an uppercut, and he continued to rain down punches. Because of this, Kamogawa threw in the towel, but Aoki quickly jumped in and grabbed the towel because Takamura's fighting spirits remained high. Takamura then connected a punch to Bison, but Bison quickly retaliated with a solid punch. Ippo continued to shout and cheer for Takamura. Because of this, Takamura got irritated and let loose a solid punch that connected with Bison's incoming big left. We then learned that the power of this punch came from the big toe of Takamura's left foot, which is similar to the technique that Ippo uses. And when both boxers threw their punches at the same time, our protagonist connected solidly first. When Takamura thought that his opponent had fallen, he walked to the other corner. But when he noticed that Bison hadn't fallen, he quickly turned around, used his big toe, and launched a solid punch, which cleanly connected with Bison's face. And because of this, Bison quickly fell, and the referee quickly ended the match and declared the new WBC and WBA middleweight champion, Mamoru Takamura. And because of this, he now holds 3 world champion titles, 1 WBC junior middleweight belt, and WBC and WBA middleweight belts. He also has a record of 27 wins, 0 losses, and all those victories came from knockouts. Man, that was awesome! Takamura made a huge comeback. That's why there are so many people shouting that the title should be Hajime no Takamura, because he's just so amazing. Takamura is indeed a legend. His journey on how he will conquer from middleweights up to heavyweights is very exciting. So let's look forward to that together. Now don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the upcoming fierce battles. This is Onii-Chan Enghan. See you next time, guys.